MrSavage won this solo victory cup game with 21 eliminations, and he lands to the south side of Naughty Nets. His off spawn is all about efficiency. As he lands, he instantly slides, which drops him straight down onto a floor spawn, meaning he would get this before any other player. And then using the pistol he finds on the floor, he instantly tries to shoot one of the contesting players up to the north, unfortunately not picking up this first elimination. After this, he prioritizes getting fast harvesting material like these massive bricks to give him an advantage over the other players up to the north. Since he has a full stacked inventory, he can push up to the north where the players have just finished fighting, meaning he has the advantage in materials, HP, and loot, and is easily just able to wipe the first player. Once MrSavage spots the second player, he actually makes a mistake, which is to kinetic blade straight up into the sky. This allows the opponent just to beam him for roughly 70 HP. However, the opponent isn't good enough to realize this mistake and does the exact same thing himself, allowing MrSavage to get a bit of damage back on him, and ultimately he owns the wall which the player lands on, allowing him to pick up yet again a second easy elimination. After scouting around the POI for another player, he spots someone up to the north in a large wood box. This player, after taking a few shots at Savage, flies away using the geyser, which is a telltale sign that he's not an aggressive player and that Savage probably will be able to pick up an easy elim. Naturally, since this player's just finished a fight off spawn, he's got low materials and low HP, and Savage catches up and just wipes him very simply with the SMG. It was a bit of an unfortunate timing for that player as he just tried to pick his reality augments. The fourth elim is really interesting because yet again Savage is taking advantage of the fact that two other players are fighting. He does a really nice little mechanic where he doesn't initially replace this cone, however as soon as he sees the other player notice that this cone is missing, that's when he does it, which makes him then fumble. Now there is still another player around here, and the way he initiates this fight is really nice. He has some great mechanics to make sure he gets onto a right hand peak, however he underestimates the opponent that he's fighting because clearly this guy is also extremely capable. Now this is the first game of a solo victory cup, a low elo match in a contenders mode where most of these players are going to be relatively bad, and he's found the one good player in the lobby. So he makes a good decision that after being on the back foot, using all of his wood, all of his brick to disengage from this fight, as dying now will not be worth it at all. The way he does this is really nice though, as he kinetic blades away, builds up a little bit, switches to his SMG to see if the opponent will chase him with his kinetic blade, as he'd be able to beam him out of the sky, similar to one of our earlier examples. Because he doesn't, this just allows Savage to then disengage. Once he rotates back into Mega City, he hears a couple players scurrying around in a house down below him, and he's extremely safe about the angles that he takes whilst in this building because he doesn't know where this player is. And even once he manages to replace the wall that the player is hiding behind, he doesn't just open a big edit and run straight into his face. He always plays a right hand peek and is extremely safe to ensure he doesn't get hit in return. You see, he's on 132 effective HP, and any rarity of a shotgun could easily one pump him here and end his game. This guy had the vault card in his inventory, which of course now means that MrSavage can get the mythic pump shotgun from the vault. Obviously this is going to help him in W keying for the rest of the game. As he rotates out, side tangent, I did not know this wind tunnel existed here to the west side of Mega City, but he lands and finds a player, and I love the approach that he has here. He slides whilst ADSing to give himself the highest chance of hitting a big shot. Then when the opponent blocks him with some walls, I like that he jumps, places a floor and a ramp to go over them, and then as he's falling, looks directly down, places a wall in front of the opponent and a cone for himself to land on, allowing him to get the opening shot off in the fight. He pieces up the left side where the opponent was going to escape and manages to hit another white damage tag, meaning he's extremely weak. However, he does make a little bit of a mistake on continuing this aggression on the same left hand wall, as we've already seen the opponent look out that angle to take a shot, and the opponent actually hits him for 132 damage, leaving him with only 5 HP, almost losing Savage this game. He rotates a little to the south to find a couple other players fighting that he can third party, and I like the reloads in this. Every single time after he sprays with the SMG, he always reloads the full clip before continuing that aggression or getting close to the wall. Many resub deaths, I can tell you, have happened because I've not reloaded my SMG and I've gone wall to wall with someone. After hitting a nice shot following a peanut butter edit, he notices that after numerous attempts, he cannot take this opponent's wall, so he sets up a really nice ramp phase. He does this by placing a cone and a wall in front of him to block himself from getting third partied from a distance, and then edits the cone to fire himself into the box. The opponent already showed that his tendency was to edit the cone to create 2 layers layers of protection and to prevent a player from ramp phasing into his box. So going around this different angle took the opponent by surprise and didn't give him enough time to re-edit the cone inside of his box. At this point in the match, Loot Island spawns, and for a W key match, the mythic pulse rifle is an absolute necessity. Now I ain't gonna break this Elim down because he just ramp flips and then there's a bit of server lag. However, there is a big problem here. There's already a player camping for the pulse rifle on the spawn. Even in a low elo match like this, the best players in the lobby are the ones who are often going to go for the mythic pulse rifle because they're the ones who are confident enough in fighting for it. And it's clear that this guy is very competent. So at this point, it doesn't become a battle of who's trying to actually win the fight. They're not even trying to necessarily kill each other. They're just trying to claim the one tile where the pulse rifle will spawn. Whilst box fighting, he does a great job of just trying to claim all of the walls around this tile where the pulse rifle will spawn. And once he's claimed enough, the opponent realizes that he's not going to be able to fight back and get it and disengages, giving Savage the most OP weapon in Fortnite history. The 9th Elim is a great showcasing of its OP wall replacing abilities, as it only took 2 shots to destroy this wall, which allowed him to edit a window and then slide a cone straight into the box and hit a large shot. It's almost impossible to fight against this gun if you're already down on HP. It's his opponent just tried to katana away and, you know, Savage hits 1 bullet and he's dead. Now, because this does so much structure damage, the element of surprise when wall replacing is really critical. As you notice, Savage sneaks up onto this player whilst hiding behind a tree. However, he actually does not manage to get this wall because the player inside has a good reaction time. Instantly noticing this, he makes a full box to protect himself, including a ramp edit, which would give him right-hand peek from any edit that the player would do inside the wall, and then goes for a second attempt to replace the wall, which this time is successful. On a very similar note to the previous elimination, he replaces the wall, edits a window, slides a ramp in instead this time, and then finishes things off. This fight is undoubtedly the best in the entire game. Similar to previously, he's using the pulse rifle to replace the walls, not just to spam and spray. And the movement in this is absolutely phenomenal. And this final maneuver is what really seals the deal for me. Notice how the opponent is standing on the top of a ramp, and he's most likely going to flip it. Savage recognizes this, places a wall to either side, and then as the opponent flips the ramp, he looks directly down to ensure he places the wall in front of him. This blocks the opponent's shot. However, he instantly edits a window, places a cone, all whilst swinging to the left to avoid the opponent's SMG spray, and then of course hits a max 1 pump shot. This entire sequence is art. It's a cinematic masterpiece, but what's most impressive is that he flows between all of these different building mechanics so easily, whereas a large amount of players will be able to do 1 or 2 of these without messing them up. He can sequence them together one after another in quick succession, and this is what makes Savage an incredibly scary fighter. I would like to break down this 12th Elim, but yeah, this isn't entirely mechanical. And the next Elim also is just server lag, so sorry. 2 that aren't that impressive to skip. Elim number 14 is another good example of his fluid movement and ability to move between different actions. Now, there's nothing individually impressive about what he's doing in this clip. However, it's the speed and execution of each one of these individual actions which makes this so impressive. Elim number 15, he just beams a player out of the sky, and as he's landing from his kinetic blade, places a ramp that he perfectly lands underneath the ramp phase himself into the box. As you'll notice, Savage does a lot of these ramp phases, but he only chooses to do this when he knows the opponent has almost no HP and that 1 or 2 bullets will guarantee the Elim. There's not much to say about Elims 16 and 17 outside of the fact that there's 2 players at the back side of the zone who are obviously fighting, and he's just holding a good angle and he's able to pick up both of them. Since this is a low elo game, he has good materials, he has 2 mythics, he's just going to play high ground in the first moving zone, and the next 2 Elims are basically exactly what you would expect. Now, if you notice, he has 19 eliminations, but that's only 30 points, which is the same amount of points you'd get in a solo victory cup for winning a single game. So at this point, there's still a ton of placement left to go, so the goal switches from W keying everyone in the lobby to winning the game. He tries to survive as long as he can, but he runs almost completely out of materials, when luckily 2 players start fighting right above him. He uses his last few materials to ensure he's safe while doing this by protecting himself to the right with a wall, and then the second last material to wall replace up above him, giving him access to this fight, giving him his 20th elimination, a lot of materials refreshed, but of course we missed this due to server lag. With this refresh, he has enough materials and heals to play high ground, so he uses the kinetic blade to fly up as high as he can, and notices there is still another player playing ultimate high ground above him. But yet again, because he has the mythic pulse rifle, this is an easy chop out. Now, the opponent above makes a mistake of trying to stay up as high as he can, which when the player fighting you is MrSavage and he has 2 mythics, you are not surviving. Even at this point with 21 eliminations, this game still goes down to heal off, but because of those refreshes he got earlier on, he manages to win the game, which led him then to win the entire open round of this tournament. If you want to see more of the mechanics of the Pros series, you can click here to see why it's so hard to beat Malabuka.